Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and we are from the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. I assume that all of you sitting here are quite familiar with the so-called Dieselgate scandal happened last year. The U.S. legal authorities alleged the Volkswagen Group manipulated U.S. emission laws for installing these sophisticated softwares that can detect the external environment, say for example the speed of the car, and change the emission of carbon dioxide in the car accordingly, so that the machines that could not pass the test originally could pass the test right now. I was actually in Europe when this all happened for my exchange study, and I got the chance to ask my fellow friends around for their opinions. My friends from France, Audie, a very cute little girl, she said, well, I drive Peugeot, so good luck Volkswagen. But my friends from Germany, feel really fragile and really humiliated. Even asking them about their opinions kind of hurt the patriotic heart. But for my friends from the United States, they seem really annoyed. We trust you guys, and you play tricks with us. There's never gonna be a second time. So it's really interesting to see how people from various cultural backgrounds react to such incidents. But how in the very first place, how did this all happening? How could a brand like Volkswagen with such a long history, a German brand, could do such thing, such scandal? From the external part, this car producing industry is highly competitive with a lot of competitors, and the technology is evolving every single day. But from the internal part, we can analyze from 3 points: motivation, opportunity, as well as justification. For motivation, they are encouraged to do so because they have the intention to both boost the US diesel engine car sales, and also in a tech expo, they promised that they could improve the technology and reduce the carbon dioxide emission for 30% in just 1 year, which was considered quite impossible at the time. Also, they have the opportunity to do so. The official government of Germany, when they regulate those companies, they use the data provided by manufacturers themselves. And also, the company Volkswagen have a very obedient and hierarchical structure, while employees are not willing to stand up to disclose such scandals in the very first place. And also, people have trust in general to German products, which really stands for quality and truth. Also, they have internal justifications, which serves as some kind of excuse for their own behavior. The former CEO, the excuse he used to cheat himself was, this was only the fault of the few people. We cannot be blamed. The whole group cannot be blamed because a simple mistake made by a few people. What about the second CEO? The excuse he used was, this is not about ethical. This is not an ethical problem. This is simply, we don't understand US laws. We don't understand the technology. That's a problem. So these are the reasons why they could make such a scandal. But today, we developed several strategies to help Volkswagen get into trouble and achieve long-term goals. And our objective today would be win back our customers and outside shareholders' trust, as well as prevent such similar crises from ever happening again.
After analyzing the crisis management strategies adopted by Volkswagen when they're facing the criticisms from the public media, we can see there are several problems they're making. The first one is the clarification of the top management.
In 2016, September 20th, when the scandal was just made public, the previous CEO of Volkswagen, Mr. Winterkorn, he made a speech and he said that this scandal was just a result of several terrible mistakes, just as my teammate have mentioned. And he also said that the investigation and suspicion to the company and its employees are, well, they don't deserve that kind of suspicion and investigation. we can clearly see that the Mr. Winterkorn didn't think that such investigation is reasonable. Right after his speech, on the next day, Volkswagen's stock price reduced 20% and causes several million euros losses to the whole company's market capitalization. After 3 days of his speech, Mr. Winterkorn was under pressure from public and the company. He resigned from his CEO position.
Here we can see that trying to allocate responsibility to a technical problem instead of an ethical problem doesn't really help to rebuild the company image. Also, trying to blame only a small amount of employees within the company is only doing more harm to the image. The second mistake made by Volkswagen is the transparency issue.
According to news, in 2007 and 2011, there are suppliers and employees of Volkswagen have warned the company that its cheating emission system actually has some mistake and there is a risk. However, this information was reported to the supervision board. However, this problem was not addressed later on. It was not, this system was kept using and then the scandal came out.
Here we can see that the public and the stakeholders actually expect the company to disclose all the details of the scandals. So they want to see the details, they want them to be brave enough to admit their problems. And these are the two criteria that the public media to regain their trust toward the company that they will not make such mistakes again. And when we were thinking about the prevention, there are also 3 strategies that we would like to adopt. The first one is that the company should instead set up a feasible goal. A feasible goal would act as an incentive for effort and hard work. And on the other hand, an unfeasible goal will only act as incentive of unethical behaviors.
In 2007, when Mr. Winterkorn became Volkswagen's CEO, he made a provision that he wants Volkswagen to increase its production and it can produce more than 10 million vehicles by 2018. Well, in 2014, Volkswagen has already produced more than 10 million vehicles annually worldwide. But when the scandal came out, more than 60% of its vehicle was affected and was called back for inspection. This callback actually reduced the efficiency of Volkswagen's production.
Here we can say that the harm caused by unfeasible goal is even higher than the benefit it can bring. The second strategy we would like Volkswagen to adopt is a special committee, which is a group built up within a company to act as an intermediary of the internal communication. Any employee that has noticed any unethical behavior will be able to report to this committee and further report board of direction. To be noticed that top management who may potentially related to the unethical behaviors will not be directly related to this committee. And why we want to suggest this strategy is that we noticed that the problems are mainly caused by the blocked internal communication within Volkswagen.
Well, there is also a news saying that there actually is an independent inspection society and university has found out that Volkswagen has exceed the U.S. emission limit for about 35 times. The universities have suggested Volkswagen to have internal investigation on this problem. But however, the problem was not overall investigated, and then although some cars were called back, but still the scandal came out, and the Volkswagen's company reputation was affected.
And the third strategy we would like to introduce to Volkswagen is to set up a employee education. It's about ethical education among the employees. In the case, it is stated that employees are actually aware of the problem of the unethical behaviors. However, they may be not brave enough or not sensitive enough toward the ethical issues. Therefore, such educational training program will be essential. And with these 2 strategies, our ultimate goal is to change organizational culture. From the case, some employees stated that organizational culture in Volkswagen is about obedience. The employees have no power to change or report the behavior of their managers. And I believe with our strategies of special comedy, ethical education, this will be changed in Volkswagen. And still, there's going to be risks along with our strategies.
So besides from the benefits of our proposed strategies, there are several risks along with this strategy that we would like to take. And the first risk is created by the increase in management costs, which will in turn create the uncertainty of the competitiveness of our product. However, this will be compensated by providing a better quality product to our customers, which will in turn guarantee the competitiveness of our product. And the next risk is created by the uncertainty of the effectiveness of our special committee. And this can be compensated through having our board of directors directly overseeing this committee to guarantee that they are being effective. And the next risk is the cultural development risk created by the uncertainty of whether we can actually replace the current obedient culture. And this will also be compensated through having our training program to our employees. And besides from the internal control risks, there are several positive externalities that come along with our strategy. And the first externality is that we will be able to create an incentive for our competitors to actually amend their internal control system and be able to take corporate social responsibility. And in return, we will be able to build up an ethical and reliable atmosphere and culture within the automobile industry, and therefore, as a result, increase the quality of the overall automobile products. And the next externality is the incentives for the government to develop a better detection system so that this will enable them to better reinforce their regulations and policies. And lastly, we will be able to, with all these in mind, we will be able to build up the credibility of made in Germany products. Trust is always fragile. If you break the trust once, it's really hard to reestablish the trust among people. It's been about 10 months since the accident happened, but Volkswagen still have a very long way to go. With our proposed strategy, Volkswagen is believed to be always on the right track. Thank you very much.
There's some interesting changes suggested there, but given what we know about the governance structure of the company, who do you think is strong enough to make these changes happen? Who is interested in making these changes happen? Because you have shareholders which are linked to the government, you have employee representatives who are interested in maintaining jobs. Who is going to drive the changes that can bring about this kind of improvement?
I believe the changes brought by these improvements will be held mostly by the board of directors and also the labor union mostly, because it will be a change from the bottom of the company, and all the employees will be involved in this supervisory committee that we would like to suggest. So I guess it will be a thorough change, so it will not only among the top management.
But do you think they'll really do it? I mean, do you think, that if the employee representatives are focused most on changing jobs, keeping jobs, do you think they are really going to spend their time pushing for these changes, which may disrupt comfortable arrangements?
So if you look at this problem, it's actually the top management, especially the CEOs, that know about this incident but never report it, and they just allow this happening. So we must have a stronger role playing this, mostly board of directors, to participate and get involved into, especially the board of directors are focused on the long-term objectives of the company. So they should have a more active role in the whole reconstruction process.
I have another question about the committee that you were talking about setting up, and I think you said that the type of people would be not the type of people from the problematic era, but they'd also be internal. So how would you go about selecting out the right people for the committee, and who would do that?
From our reading the case, we can see that the biggest problem Volkswagen is facing right now is among the middle and top management, because they are aware of the problem, but they block the internal communication. So here we can say the committee will be mostly chosen among the lower tier employees within the company, but some representative of the middle management.
And especially when you look at the case, we really need someone independent and not affected by the management to be a part of this. We don't want anyone who used to get involved with the incident to continue with the whole company governance. So this whole process will be conducted by the board of directors, and this committee will also report to the board of directors, and they will have the right to handpick those who they trust.
You mentioned that one of the goals here is to rebuild the reputation of the brand, right? And you started off by saying one of your friends, the American, said, you know, you've done this once and I'll never trust you again. But yet you close saying you think that these changes will actually help rebuild that trust. A lot of them seem to be very internal focused and reshaping the culture. How do you actually, will the Americans actually see that happening? How do you actually connect that to rebuilding the brand in the US?
Yes, US brand is actually going to be our focus externally, because if you look at the sales of the US, it is affecting the most. And if you look at the market share, there is drop in dramatically. US governments, what the Volkswagen are now doing is in producing kind of a benefit programs so that they can provide incentives like oil fees or some very not so value-adding products, which are not really building the trust here. So this is going to be a very long-term goal. But first, what we're going to do is to re-establish our whole brand image and reconfirm that we are a company that really values the company culture, company ethical very much. So that is the first step we're going to do. And follow on that, we will also have other steps.
Well, we will also use the power from media, because this scandal was actually public by media. And in a press conference in December 2015, the Volkswagen hoped to use this conference to update the investigation process to the public. In this conference, there is actually 9 managers from Volkswagen was found out involved in the scandal, but none of their names were disclosed to the public. And from this conference is, well, Volkswagen hoped to disclose something to the public, but it actually doesn't disclose all of it to the public. So to the public, this conference is not a sign of win back trust from the public. So we will also use the media and hold some other conference, for example, to show the progress of our investigation process and try to show as many things as possible to let the public know that we, Volkswagen, are really trying to solve this problem and rebuild its image.
Rebuilding the trust is really a long-term process. So what we need to focus on is first rebuilding our internal and let our efforts known to the public, especially to the American people. So that's the 2 things we need to focus on.
How will you measure success?
Recovering from the crisis. First of all, we could look at the market share, especially the sales from various markets, because after the crisis, the market share for Volkswagen in different regions, say for example, United States, European, as well as China, is all affected. So I would say, first and foremost, market share will be a very important index. And secondly, our revenues will also be a very important index, but it's not as important as the market share, because we also count up, say for example, consider the facts of our competitors when we're considering market share. And in the long term, in the whole reconstruction process, we would also have other index like profitability, employee turnover, and many other whole criteria.
And adding
adding to that, another measurement can be the stock price in the long term, where when we gain back the trust, when people trust us, we will expect our stock price to actually rise to our actual value of the company.
Just following up on that, how would you engage with your shareholders?
So for our shareholder activities, we are absolutely confirm that we are transparent during the whole communication process. We will disclose all the discoveries from our investigations to our shareholders to make sure that they are feel a part of the company instead of being alienated or being, I invested in this company, but I know nothing about it right now. So I think transparency is really important if we want to involve shareholders in this. And secondly, we must rebuild the trust by being transparent, by showing all the efforts we're done right now. We can rebuild the trust and regain their confidence for investing in our companies. And
in terms of the communication at the time of the crisis becoming public, what do you think the company should have done differently?
yes, firstly, absolutely the time. The time is really crucial in terms of crisis management. It took a long time to admit their fault and really be transparent to the media, and they took a long time to do that, which causes a lot of speculations and suspicions about what exactly is going on. So timely response, I would say, it's a very important point. And secondly, you really should get involved with the local regulations, especially the United States. Volkswagen should participate actively into the investigation internally to figure out what exactly is going on, instead of all technicians are saying it's just technical problems, we're denying everything. That's intolerable in terms of their crisis management.
So basically, what we suggested in our strategy is to be transparent and timely, and to admit bravely what you've done.
Especially, they also say, it's not our mistake, it's not our responsibility, it's just a few. The high management stepped up and said, I don't know about this. I have nothing to do with this. If top management and management team should take the responsibility timely and really admit the mistakes instead of saying it's other people's fault, it's just the fault of a few people, I have nothing to do with. That's totally wrong.
And adding to that point, I think if Volkswagen want to rebuild its trust to the public, it should make correct response to the media, kind of question, because the media have found that there are previous news in previous years, for example 2007 and 11, about their mistake, kind of mistake they have made. They ignore the problem, but they didn't make any response. I think they should, if there are some previous problem, they should also admit the mistake that they have made to make further improvement.
Do you think it was correct to put in an insider into the CEO role?
Putting an insider into prison.
Yeah, so the new CEO came from the Porsche side of the business, which wasn't untouched by this scandal. There were Porsche cars as well that were impacted by the scandal. Do you think it was the correct decision to put him into the CEO role versus bringing in an outsider who would come in clean and could paint a new culture?
I think it's problematic when crisis is happening while the management team is not stabilized, which will bring a lot of external speculations and suspicions about the issue, what's exactly going on, if people are lost, people don't know about this person, how this company is going to move forward, what is the future for this company, which will really bring about a lot of questions. But on the other side of it, if he is not involved with the business owner, he probably would have the determination to really recover the company, and because he was not involved with the whole issue, so that he doesn't have this conflict of interest, so that he could really be determined to solve the problem instead of blaming others, instead of saving himself, but really saving the company.
How much do you think of Volkswagen's response was considered, measured, intelligent response? and how much of it was driven by a panic reaction to the news stories, to everything they were reading about themselves on the internet and in the newspapers?
I think more than 50% of the responses are out of urgency. They may have not thought about thoroughly about how to respond to the public media, because their responses are usually allocating the responsibilities instead of bravely admit their mistakes, and their investigation process is not thoroughly disclosed, which is a big mistake they've already made. So I guess they have to wait until they have investigated some details and to be ready to disclose these problems.
From this instance, we can see that Volkswagen is not familiar, not sure how to handle a crisis like this. So that's also the reason why we propose to establish a specific crisis management team to respond to such issues, especially in terms of the public relations part. Will be better if such things, such drama would happen ever again.
And if it does happen again, in Volkswagen or anywhere else, is the right response to come out immediately and say something but not very much? Or is it better to wait, as Volkswagen did, for a couple of days, and then say something with a little bit more detail, maybe not complete, but a little bit more detail?
I think company really, sometimes it really depends, but sometimes companies may do need time to react, to figure out what's wrong, what goes wrong internally, but the time they spend should be as quick as possible. They should come out with a report and a full investigation, a full disclosure as quickly as possible. And once they have done that, all the roles that they have done, the responsibility should be clear, and the report should be full, and the whole incident should be very clear.
And to add more point, I think there should be one prompt response to show that the company is actually aware of this problem and they are focusing on this problem and trying to solve it. Just don't put more detail about the investigation in the first response, but still waste some time to investigate more thorough the company.
One last question. Do you think that through training you can really change people's culture, values?
Well, I think through training we can give them a kind of mindset about the whole company culture. For example, we encourage you to report your mistake as soon as possible. Although we cannot change people's character or their from internally, but we can give them this kind of hint. So culturally in this company, you can tell people your mistake, and it's a long-term process.
Thank you, team. So this will conclude the round 2 of the competition. Let us all give the team a round of applause for their impressive efforts. Thank you, judges. Let us all give our judges a big round of applause to show our appreciation. And I would like to now ask everyone to leave the room except for the judges. Do remember to take all your personal belongings with you, and on your way out, please drop the case off into the box next to the door, as we would like to collect other cases. Thank you for your cooperation. And judges, please remain in the room and complete the judge evaluation and comment sheets. Thank you, everyone.